everyone, it's Stacey. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel today. In this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to make a Christmas tree skirt. I absolutely love Christmas, and my Christmas tree is my favorite decoration in the house, so I'm really excited to be making this project. I'll be doing this over 2 weeks. This week, we'll be starting off by learning how to make the top, and then next week, we'll finish it off. If you enjoy this tutorial, it would be amazing if you could hit the subscribe button and the bell so you'll get notifications every time I do a new video. And in the link below, you'll also find all the supplies that you need for this tutorial. But for now, let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is make a template to cut our fabric pieces out of. I've got freezer paper here that I've taped together to make a nice big piece. You can use anything you want. I just use freezer paper because that's what I had on hand. The first thing I'm going to do is draw a straight line, and that's what I'll work against. So once I've got one nice straight line, I'm going to come up to the top here and I'm going to measure 3 inches. But I want to measure it from the middle. So I'm going to find 1.5 inches on my line, and then I'm going to measure 3 inches. Then, sorry, you can see it didn't work over my sticky tape, but I know that's the beginning and the end. Then I'm going to come down and I'm going to measure 20 inches and a half. And I'm going to start where I drew this line. Put my ruler on 20 and a half, having it lined up on the line, and then I'm just going to draw a little marker here. Now I'm going to take my ruler, I'm going to line it up on my line at 10 inches, and then I'm going to draw a line where I did my marker, measuring 20 inches. So I'm going to find 20 inches and draw all the way along to the edge. So now it's 20 inches and a half up and down, 20 inches across, and this top measurement was 3 inches. And then for future reference, I'm just going to put Christmas tree skirt. And then I can pull this out every time I want to make a Christmas tree skirt. The last thing I'm going to do is just connect all the lines. So I'm going to find the end of my, well, the beginning of my 3 inch here, line it up with the end here, and just draw a line. And then I'll do the same on the other side. Now I'll just cut that out with my paper scissors. Okay, so now we've finished our template. Now we need to cut out 8 pieces of fabric for our template. So for our Christmas tree skirt, we need 8 different pieces. I've decided to use 4 different fabrics, and I'll cut 2 pieces from each. So I'm just going to give them all a press before I get started. Okay, so now I've got my fabric here that I've pressed, and it is still folded, and I'm going to cut 2 pieces at one time. So I've taken my template, I've smoothed out my fabric, I'll put my template on top, making sure that's nicely smoothed out, and then I'm just going to pin it to hold it in place. And we just want to make sure the template stays nice and smooth, so if you do find it's a bit bunched up, just take out the pin and re-pin it. Okay, and then when it's nice and secure, we're just going to cut around our template. Just cutting really close to the edge and making sure we don't cut our template. Okay, and then when you finish cutting out your first template, cut out the rest of your pieces. If you're using 4 different fabrics like me, you need to cut out 2 of each. So like I said, that was double-sided. So now I'll just cut out 2 of my other 3 pieces of fabric. So now I've finished cutting out my 8 pieces. What I've done is I've put them in the order that I want to sew them in. What we're going to do is we're going to sew them together like this, and then eventually it will make a skirt that goes all the way around. So I did forget to mention, if you are using a directional fabric, and that means, let's say you've got snowmen on it, well, you want them all facing the right way. So you want them facing you with the widest piece at the bottom. So now let's sew our pieces together. Okay, so I'm going to take my first piece and my second piece, face them right sides together, and then I'm going to pin. I'm going to make sure the edges are lined up at the top here, these edges in the corner, and I will just pop in a few pins. So now I'm going to sew along that edge. I've decided to use my 1/4 inch foot, and I'm going to be stitching at stitch length 2. You could always also use a standard foot and sew at a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. It really doesn't matter. This is just what I've chosen to do. And I won't bother doing a back stitch because we will be sewing over this. I'm just going to stitch right off the edge, cut that thread. Then what I'm going to do is open it up, take my next piece, place that down on the most left hand piece. I'll flip that over, line up those edges again, pin and sew, and I'll repeat until I've sewn all the pieces together. So then I'll just find the most left-hand piece again that I just sewed. I'll take my next piece, match them up right sides together, pin and sew. So now I'm just going to go around and press every seam. It doesn't matter which way they go, but just for argument's sake, I'm going to make sure mine are all sitting up so I can feel that mine is sitting correctly underneath. I'll just give it a finger press and a press on that seam. Find the next one. Make sure it's sitting correctly underneath. Finger press and press. And then I'll just do that for every single seam. So now I've finished pressing, and I did end up pressing my whole Christmas tree skirt. And I've got my opening here, and that's correct. We want to keep that like that. One thing I wanted to mention was you don't have to have a solid piece for each template like I did. What you could do is you could sew 2.5 inch strips, sew them together quite roughly, and then you could put your template on top and trim around it as if it was one piece of fabric like we did with these ones. You might also want to make every different piece a different fabric. You might want to applique it. Really, it's entirely up to you. Just have fun with it. Okay everyone, now we've finished our Christmas tree skirt top, and next week we'll be finishing it off. As you can see, I've used really muted colours with a bit of metallic, and those are the colours that I use every year. I can't seem to break away from that. But I'd love to know what colours you use, so please leave a comment and let me know. It would be really interesting to see what everyone puts. And if you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, and I'll see you next week when we finish off our Christmas tree skirts. Thank you for watching my videos. If you're enjoying them, please like, subscribe and leave a comment.